I've got our stove commissioned, and it's certainly kicking out some heat. We haven't actually put the room back together yet because I do need to do some housework. Pellet stove uses these little pellets of wood, so it's all sort of like sawdust that is reformed. And one of these bags costs about €4, and a whole day on full power will more or less go through one of those. So, you know, it's not without cost, but it's a heck of a lot cheaper than using one of these electric fan heaters. You may know that Portugal gets about 300 days of sunshine per year, and that makes it comfortably the sunniest country in Europe, and that's brilliant. But just to dispel any myths, it does get cold here. We do have a proper winter, and that means that we have to have heating, or at least if we want to stay comfortable, we have to have heating. One thing that is not very common in Portugal is central heating, and radiators are really quite a rare sight. And we started off just with a open fire, and that was all right. It was certainly better than nothing. But the trouble with open fires, as I'm sure you know, most of the heat gets sucked up the chimney. And so the first winter it wasn't particularly warm, to say the least. So we installed a wood-burning stove. And again, that was a game changer. It really was, because we could seal the chimney off, and it really made a huge difference. One of the slight issues, though, with the wood pellet stove is you do have to have an electrical supply. Without that, the fans that drive it obviously don't work, and it has an auger that feeds the pellets into the bowl where they burn. And so all of this needs sensors as well, and I think over time it could be, you know, as in all modern electronics, it could be a source of some hassle, but overall, because it's got a fan, it blows the warm air all around the house, and that is really good. It makes such a difference in comfort. You come into the house and it actually immediately feels warm, as opposed to previously you'd be huddling next to the wood-burning stove. We did also experiment along the way with electric fan heaters, but they use so much electricity, it's absolutely crazy. And you know, it just doesn't seem to be a sensible thing to be using, except just occasionally when you need that little bit extra. So used gas heaters for a while, and whilst they are effective, unfortunately the unvented ones release an awful lot of water into the air, and in a house that already is has the potential, shall we say, to be quite humid, you really don't want to be introducing any more humidity, and you'd find that you'd have the windows absolutely running with condensation, and you'd be continuously turning the heat up, because you've got to keep, through the latent heat of vaporization, you've got to keep the moisture evaporated. So yeah, that was something that we fairly quickly consigned to the bin, and obviously wood burning stoves really don't produce any form of moisture, and dry air is actually a lot more important than heat. So let me know in the comments what you think. How do you heat your house? Have you just got central heating, And how is that working out for you? Because I know that the gas prices in many parts of the world are actually going up rather more than they should be. Electricity in most countries is not an economical way of heating your house. Do you have a wood stove? Are you thinking about getting a pellet stove? So far, my experience has been really quite positive. One thing I will say about the pellet stove is it is not entirely silent in its operation, which a wood stove is. You know, a conventional wood stove doesn't have any form of, how shall we say, fans. Yeah. So the pellet burning stove does have a slight downside in that it's got a fan, which I said was a positive earlier on, but it actually is quite noisy in operation, especially on its higher settings. And I've actually set it just to be automatic, so I set the temperature and it regulates everything else. I could, you know, micro adjust it and everything, but I don't really see the point. If it's got automatic settings and it knows what it's doing, just let it do it. Right, well, I'm off shopping now into the local town, to the supermarket, and then I've got to go to the butcher. So that is going to be basically my morning. Now, one thing that we do get is a little bit of smoke from the traditional one, whereas the exhaust gases for this one are pretty much completely clean as you can get. So if you're worried at all about pollution and what have you, then I guess you're going to go for the pellet one. If you're in town and you're subject to smokeless areas, I would have thought it's worth a check, but you probably get away with using that. Gosh, huge amount of wasps here. They're all munching the grapes, and I can see an Asian hornet hunting the wasps. There it goes. This time of year, of course, all the wasps get rather drunk on the rotting fruit, and that is not ideal because then they get angry, like bruisers down the pub. Right, go and do something else. What are you doing? Yeah. You're right. You're so beautiful. Oh, first. Rather nasty and early in the morning. It's a Sunday, and we're off over the other way to do some clearing. Well, it's relatively light work when you got lots of you doing it, but yeah, we've got about 2/3 of the way up in a tank of petrol, so about an hour and a half. Well, we've done really about as much as we can do without getting a tractor and probably a bulldozer up to do the rest. So let's go up to the little barn. it's not changed much since we were last up here doing the clearing, except of course it's all grown back, but it's still absolutely beautiful up here. Still, although this is our land at the moment, it may not be for very much longer, because frankly we can't really take care of 30 hectares by ourselves, and actually our Floresta Viva may well be taking this little paliero on and the terraces around here, and that should be an exciting project going forwards.
Love it. Muito bem, meninos. Bora lá.
This, I think, is the water mine.
Okay, where's the water?
Quite deep here, and it's collapsed in. But I will need to come and dig it out. But I'm pretty sure, because there are a lot of rocks here that have sort of fallen in, and this channel here is pretty deep. So I think that's a good chance.
But this is connected with the stream.
Yes, it could be a stream as well, but I think that's a mine.
One of the walls, it's in the mountain.
Have you got some cabbage? Is it nice, Keith?